Continuing in Ephesians, the next big section of Ephesians, the third section, deals with spiritual warfare preparation. And that is putting on the armor of God. And he describes the armor. And the reason for this is because when we go into battle, we want to be protected. And so later on, we're going to learn how to do battle tactics, and all that sort of stuff. But before we start attacking, we need to have our armor on. Now, this armor corresponds to the levels of the path. So let's go through this very briefly. Romans deals with the belt of truth. The belt is the basic piece of armor. It is what a lot of the other pieces of armor hang on. And truth, remember, is course correcting. And so in Romans, what we're learning is that we need to get closer to God, and we need to do course correcting in order to get there. So that's the belt of truth. The next level is Corinthians, which deals with the congregation, the breastplate of righteousness. Now, in the congregation, we're going to help each other to live righteously. And so that's why the belt of righteousness. 2 Corinthians is the growth use of Yeshua's prayer, and it helps us to live righteously. We're going to grow in righteousness. So the breastplate of righteousness, and this is called a breastplate because it is our basic protection. Whenever you have a sin in your life, you have an open door to demons. And so confessing sin quickly and growing so that you stop doing certain sins and more. Okay? This is the only way that you can close that door so that demons cannot win when we go into battle with them. When you have an open door to a demon, there's no way that you can fight him. If you have a wall built around you by the angels and God is fighting on that wall, he's not going to get very far if you open the gate and let the enemy in, right? So open doors is a real problem. When we are trying to fight the enemy in enemy territory, we're trying to convert people, so forth. The enemy is going to be counterattacking, or he's going to be attacking us before we go. And he is looking for an open door in order to do that. So we have to have that door shut. It's the first thing that we have to do in order to protect ourselves. The third level is Galatians, and this is where we learned how to understand the gospel in all of its details. And it says, the feet shod with the preparation of the gospel. So we prepare ourselves by learning the gospel. And that is for the feet, because the feet are going to take us out into public where we're going to share the gospel with people. And so we need to be prepared for that. So that's the third level of protection. Obviously, if you go into a public situation and you don't understand the gospel, you're going to be in real trouble. Level 4 is Ephesians, and this is the shield of built-up trust. So as we develop trust through the faith test, doing this over and over and developing in it, this is what builds up that shield. And the passage takes a little more time to talk about this shield. It says that this is what is going to quench the fiery darts of the enemy, right? And that means that Satan is going to be launching these faith tests at us, temptations, and we need to put them down by faith. And so building up our faith through the washing of the water of the Word is what we do in this fourth level of protection against the enemy. The fifth level is Philippians, which obviously we have not gotten to yet. This is the helmet of salvation. The helmet has to do with the mind. Remember I said that the battlefield is in the mind. And we have learned up to the Philippians level, you have learned how to get rid of all the different sins in your life, except for mental sins. And so in the Philippians level, we deal with that last category of sins, which is the mental sins. And this is, once we do that, we're going to have a helmet on our mind so that we can win in that battlefield of the mind. Colossians level is sixth level, and that weapon is the sword of the Spirit. And this is where you're going to start doing offensive work. And we're going to have deacon tests or shamish tests, assignments. And when we get to the Colossians level, those assignments are going to take us out into public a little bit. And what that means is that you're going to have to attack the enemy. And the sword is the only offensive weapon here, okay? But the sword is used for parrying as well as attacking. And in this particular case, we're going to be using it for parrying, because when we do our shamish assignments, this is going to be for it's going to be for the congregation primarily. What you see in Acts when they were taking care of the widows, that was an advanced shamish test, because it was for people in the congregation, but in order to accomplish that, you had to walk through town, meaning that you were going to be in public part of the time during that assignment. And that means that you have to be protected from the enemy during that time, and that sword is how you do that. And this is, we're using battle techniques that we learned in the Philippians level in order to accomplish that. And so there's some offensive type of work that's a part of defense. And anybody that knows anything about the military has probably heard the phrase that the best defense is a good offense. And that's where the sword of the Spirit comes in. Okay, so this basically gives you an idea of how the armor works, how it corresponds to the path, and so that you can understand the defensive things that you're going to be using in order to protect yourself in spiritual warfare. Okay, if you have any questions about this, refer down to the notes, but also bring those questions to me, and either at the Shabbat meeting or on the phone or whatever. And as we move along in the levels, you're going to understand these the upper weapons that we haven't really got into yet. Okay, so the armor of God, defense, we have to be protected before we go into battle.